Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. You have seen today's topic, Yoga, the Royal Road to Blessedness. Traditionally, India has been the land of yogis, has been the land of mystics. Swamiji said, the West is full of workers, the East is full of mystics. Let there be an exchange. Swamiji wanted some action in this country because the country was lacking in abhyudaya, the minimum necessities of life. That was the second half of 19th century. The West was full of activity, full of rajas. Swamiji said they are making 5 elements dance to their tune, talking about the technology in America in those days. So much they were involved with matter. They practically controlled matter to such an extent, Swamiji makes the statement that they are making the 5 elements dance to their tune. For everything, there was a machine. Of course, that was nothing compared to the technological advancements that have happened in the last 150 years. We have manipulated matter enough. Now we need to know how to manipulate thought. Right? So much of manipulation of matter has happened, it has not brought us the expected happiness or joy, because happiness or joy is a state of mind. It depends upon the quality of the thought and how much control you have over your thought. So now people are talking about yoga. 50 years back, even if you had thought yoga, nobody would have taken and nobody would have listened. But now actually the longing for peace has arisen in the minds of people. Peacelessness actually is a huge problem. Boredom, ennui, meaningless in life, all these things have become problems because the minimum wants are satisfied. This problem only happens with human being. Animal, food is taken care of, is perfectly peaceful, no other problem with it. It will rest and sleep. For human beings, until the minimum needs are satisfied, we struggle for them. The basic wants are satisfied. Now you look here and there. What am I to do now? Mind becomes a problem. God actually has not defined man. Very difficult to define man. Swamiji said human being is a curious mixture of devil, man and God. 3 in 1. You just see how complex. One side God, one side devil. Which will find expression at what time. Okay. We don't have control. So yoga basically aims at helping the individual to connect himself or herself with the cosmic. Yoga is to yoke. The English root word and the Sanskrit root word are more or less the same. To connect with the divine, to connect with the absolute. The wave is disconnected from the ocean, as it were. It can never be disconnected, but it's disconnected as it were. So that is the reason there is so much of peacelessness or boredom or ennui in the world today. Yoga, as soon as you utter the word yoga today, both in the East and the West, the first thing that strikes the minds of the people is physical yoga, hatha yoga, postures. Somebody in some posture, doing some posture of yoga, okay, that comes into our mind. That is hatha yoga. Why did they develop this yoga? You know, Upanishad says, Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhyaha. This Atman cannot be attained by the weak. God realization is not for weak people. Realization of the self is not for weak people. You need to be physically strong and mentally strong. In acrobatics, they use springboard. If the springboard is not proper, you can't really perform well your acrobatics. Similarly, this spiritual journey is a journey into the infinite. You are taking a giant leap into the infinite. The body is the springboard. If the springboard is not strong, if it's not made well, you can't just take the leap into the infinite. So the platform must be strong. Okay, it's a giant leap into the infinite. The platform must be strong. And that's why they have developed this physical yoga or hatha yoga. Not just to have a long life. Not for longevity's sake that they have developed it. Just to have a proper instrument. The instrument must be strong and fit. Then only you can digest that highest experience. God, the creator of the universe, as a force, as a power, how powerful he must have been, to create a world of this size and magnitude. And when that power manifests in you through this tiny frame, can you withstand that manifestation? Can you digest that experience? It requires great strength, physical strength, and also a high degree of mental purity in the form of strong dispassion and absolute dispassion to digest the highest experience. Even Sri Ramakrishna's body, the purest of the body and the strongest of the body, repeated experiences, repeated samadhi. He used to say, the body almost broken. Swamiji also said, I feel as if my body would be broken to pieces. Vivekananda. The purest of the body, absolutely no trace of desire. Even they struggle to contain because it's the universal power. Kundalini Shakti. People are talking about awakening of the Kundalini, not knowing what it is to, They don't even know what is Kundalini awakening. Simply the language, words. You need to have a high degree of purity and absolute dispassion, otherwise you cannot digest the experience. That's why they have developed this physical yoga. In space experiments, when they make a rocket, the fuselage must be proper. To put the rocket into the orbit, or put it in space, it has to overcome the Earth's gravitational pull. For that it has to travel with certain velocity, which is called escape velocity. And when rocket moves with that speed, if the fuselage is not strong, it might either catch fire or it might come off. And for that reason, they calculate all that, and then actually they design the fuselage in such a way that it would withstand the heat that would be generated when the rocket is launched with that speed. Then only it would be able to overcome this gravitational pull. Either it would come off or it would burn, catch fire. The same way, this instrument must be proper. Then only you will be able to digest the highest spiritual experience. Sri Ramakrishna had experienced Mahabhava. And that Bhairavi Brahmani, she came and she certified and she said, no ordinary human being can actually digest, withstand these many experiences of spiritual moods. One spiritual mood, one spiritual bhava, body would be broken. But here is 19 Mahabhavas, 19 bhavas. He could digest and they all could find expression through his physical frame. So they have developed this Hatha Yoga with the intention of helping the individual, a yoga practitioner, to strengthen his body. First, the basic thing. The basic platform must be strong. But not with the intention of prolonging life. Of course, today we are using it for that purpose, it's okay. But the primary purpose for which actually they had developed this yoga was for this fit instrument, because I want to be a yogi. So they would do these yogasanas and keep the body in a fit condition, and then they would engage in sadhana. So now we all know about this yogasanas and this physical yoga. We all do it to lesser and greater extent, where the problem of ill health is taken over us, whole world, and that's why yoga is getting great popularity as a source of good health. It's good. We need to promote it more. Otherwise, the cost of medical expenditure has gone up, particularly for urbanites. It burns a hole in the pocket of the people. A lot of insecurity in today's society is, if I fall sick, if I go to a hospital, okay, I have to spend a fortune on it. And do I have that? A lot of middle class families, they live in insecurity because of this. What if something happens, some medical problem comes? It is not like earlier days. Medical expenditure is huge. And that is one main reason for insecurity in the society today. And so, of course, yoga is in that way a very cheap alternative. If you practice it, if you strengthen your will, and regularly if you do it, you can keep good health. And so India actually has taken the lead, and we are actually giving it to the entire world. The whole world has adopted it. Everybody is practicing in the world. So people are experiencing the benefits of it. Fine, afterwards you don't have to explain. Now I do it and I find the benefit for me. And then you don't have to tell anything. You don't have to convince me further. So in the beginning only, they think that any religion is attached to this. There will be some, doubt and suspicion. But now let us come to yoga proper. The real yoga means connecting oneself with the divine, connecting oneself with the absolute. Why should we get connected to the absolute? Just imagine the wave in the ocean. Wave has forgotten that it is part of the ocean. What would happen? The wave would be tossed up and down. By the wind, a little gale would make it toss up and down. So in the same way, when we forget the Lord, you can't actually really live in peace in the world. We won't be able to control the mind. Nature will control us. We'll be completely under the grip of nature, completely under the grip of the mind. Swamiji beautifully defines morality as, what is morality? Attuning the subject to the absolute so that the finite nature ceases to have any hold or control over you. Today our problem is mind. Not able to control mind. The problem for a school kid, problem for a young man, problem for a middle-aged man, and problem for old people also. Concentration is a huge problem because our thoughts are not under our control. So what is yoga? What is morality according to Swamiji? Attuning the subject to the absolute so that the finite nature ceases to have any hold on you. Now we are controlled by nature, controlled by mind. If you attune the mind, if you connect the mind to the divine, to the cosmic, to the absolute from which the mind has come, it will become easy for you to control it. Nahi kaschit kalyana krut jatu tishtati. There is a sloka in Bhagavad Gita. Nahi kalyana krut. Nahi kaschit kalyana jatu tishtati akarma krut. So we can't just sit without doing action. Action is ingrained in us. Karete hi avasham karma. So helplessly we have to engage in action. Even thought is also action. Karete hi avasham karma. Avasham. It's not in our control, in fact. The breath is actually an action. It has to happen. Thought is an action. As long as there is breath, there is thought. Prakriti Jair Gunaihi, the Lord says. Prakriti Jair Gunaihi means because the Prakriti is created in such a way, Prakriti is made up of gunas. The gunas actually will goad you into action. Not that you have any choice with regard to action. So now you need to know how to do the action. Right? We have some definitions of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Yoga karmasu kausalam. According to Patanjali yoga, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. The basically definitions are different, but the ultimate aim is the same. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Equanimity of the mind, tranquility of the mind, quiescence of the mind is yoga. How do we attain to that? We'll discuss that. Yoga karmasu kausalam. Skill in action, dexterity in action is yoga. Now what is that? Here actually basically the Lord is talking about karma yoga. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. When you control the thought, when there is no agitation in the mind, all the thoughts have become quiet, you are experiencing the quiescent and calm mind, then you are established in yoga. The definitions may be different, but the state is the same. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha, that is Raja Yoga definition. Yogaha karmasu kausalam, that is Karma Yoga definition, but the state is the same. Samatvam Yoga uchite, that equanimity you can attain either through Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga also. When you see the society, we have different kinds of people, different temperament, different minds. The variation is too huge. No two individuals are constituted alike, neither physically nor psychologically or mentally. We have types. So there is an active type, people who are very active. Always they want to be in action. You ask them, actually make them free from action, they will go crazy. Yeah, they have to be engaged in action. And they go to the extent of saying sometimes that work is worship for me. Work is worship for you, fine. Are you doing detached action? Are you focused on the fruits of action? If your action is focused on the fruits, it's not actually karma yoga, it is karma. It entangles you. It adds bondage to you. And what happens with such people, because they don't really introspect, they don't even understand, they don't even analyze their motives. They do actually desire-prompted action. And they do how long? 60, 65, 70, you may engage yourself in action. After that, the body becomes weak. You want to engage in action, but the body doesn't cooperate. Then the problem begins. It's a torture for people, most of the people. So many people ask us, tell Swamiji, please give us some work, please give us some work. We want to do some service. You ask them to meditate. No, not possible. You ask them actually to engage. You just listen to some divine bhajans or you read some good books and engage yourself. No, not possible. I want action. I want action. So, it is okay to engage in action, but you need to understand you will not be able to engage in action all through your life. So contemplative side also we must develop. So the active type, one kind of type, there is this contemplative and meditative type. They do action, but they're not so inclined towards action. Given a choice, given a chance, they prefer to be with themselves. No, they don't mix much with people. They don't, not that they're bad people. They don't want. The temperament is different. They are reticent. They don't reveal their thoughts to people outside. Okay, many of the people are there in the Himalayas and places. They don't interact much with the people. They don't come into the society because it's all Maya. They are all around. Only people, desire-filled people are there. They don't want to become yogis. They don't want to become perfect. So the Maya might catch me. I too might get, attracted towards the worldly things. It's not safe for me to be in the company of people. Aratir jana samsadi, the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita. A yogi goes away from crowds. That means what? The Lord is actually saying that you need to withdraw from the crowd if you really want to become a yogi. Because you want to look into yourself. Always you are engaged in action, always you are talking with the people, always you are looking outside, what he is doing, what she is doing. Then you don't have time actually, quality time to look into yourself, how your mind is functioning, what kind of tendencies they are there, what motive is there when you are engaged in action. For that actually to become deeply contemplative, sometimes it is advisable, it's good to withdraw from jana samuhas, from crowds. Sri Ramakrishna also advocates it. He says that people who are in household life must withdraw from family for some days at least, 2-3 days at least in a month, and pray to God intensely, he says. Lord, I don't know your real nature. I am fully engaged in the world. I don't have this quality time. I don't have time to do sadhana. Please reveal thyself to me. You pour out your heart to the Lord. Supplication. Say a prayer. Prayer from the bottom of the heart. Please help me to know you, to realize you. Time is actually, going away. Am I expending my lifespan? Most of the times, we are expending our lifespan, precious lifespan, is being spent. How fruitful our life has become. This is a human instrument with which we can attain to yoga, with which we can attain immortality, with which you can attain God. We all have come with this possibility. How far that goal is. But we all I know have taken for granted that okay, it doesn't matter even if I don't get, I will get human birth again and I will practice. No guarantee. If you don't engage in good actions and accumulate a lot of good karma, there is no guarantee that actually we get human embodiment again. That's why our scripture says, after passing through 84 lakh wombs, you have got this human instrument. The soul has passed through 84 lakh births. There are 84 lakh creatures. No scientist actually could count the number. Our rishis, our yogis have said this. 84 lakh, how to count? We just bring one by one species, 84 lakh species you have to demonstrate, put here. How many insects are there? Are you the smallest of the small? So you have passed through all these births. All the embodiments are over. Now the supreme embodiment, the supreme form, the capacity to know the truth God has given us. In all those instruments, there was no scope for spiritual realization, for the realization of truth. Cerebrally, we are endowed with, we have the brain capacity to digest the truth, to understand the truth, to comprehend the truth. Comprehend in the sense not intellectually, to infer truth. Buddhehe param buddva, that which lies beyond the intellect, know that. Jahishatrum, the Lord says, kamarupam durasadam. So you conquer this desire which has actually bind you, which actually has put in you bondage. Why? How you will conquer it? Buddhehe param buddva, that which lies beyond the intellect, beyond the mind. Having experienced that, having known that, you actually come out of this sense slavery, the Lord says. So this is the second type. The first type is the active type, very active, always indulge in action, always want action. Without action, they will go crazy. Sometimes, they're restless. And the second is the mystic and the contemplative, the meditative, not much inclined for action. They don't even want to mix with people. This type also we see. Their temperament is like that. Their mental makeup is a little different. They are unique in that way. That's one kind. The third is the intellectual type. Today, a good number of people are intellectual type. Everybody is thinking for himself or herself after the advent of YouTube. People are so well informed. Not that if I tell, actually everybody will consume it, everybody take it like gospel truth. They will reflect on it. Earlier days it was not like that. Even now also in villages you go, people in a village. Recently I had been to a village in Adilabad district, a tribal village. Villages, they don't think. If any problem is there, they go to Sarpanch. He has to think and solve the problem for them. They don't exercise their minds. Still it is there. They don't exercise their minds. Any problem is there, simply they will go to Sarpanch. They have trust in that man. He has more brains. He will actually solve the problem for us. We don't have to think. We don't have to take the trouble of thinking. They don't actually trouble themselves. They don't scratch their brains how to solve this problem. Simply they will walk to the Sarpanch and he will solve the problem for them, and they have trust in the individual. So there is that understanding. But educated people living in cities, we are so well informed. Nobody is consuming what others says. Newspapers, people are writing, intellectuals are pouring out their thought. I use my lens, I use my brains, I use my intellect. Okay, how biased you are? You have an ideological moving, ideological inclination. I just see that. Yes, no, I don't consume this, I don't take this, I don't subscribe to your views. Everybody says. A child actually is not listening to parents says unless it appeals to the child's logic or reason. 8 years, 9 years, 10 years kids. Sometimes you think they are disobedient and rebellious. No, they are exercising their minds. They are exercising their brains. They are exercising their logic. I have my logic, I have my reason. What you say must appeal to my reason, then only I will take it. Otherwise you say that it is tradition, this is sampradaya, of ancestors have practiced it, or grandfathers have practiced it. If you don't practice it, it is sacrilege. No, I don't care for your sacrilege and other things. Nobody wants to listen. It's great. An intellectual effervescence is going on across the world. Intellectually, it's kind of a giant leap for mankind. But again, actually, when the intellect awakens, this is also trouble. You have to figure it out for yourself. The tribal people had no problem absolutely, because they don't exercise the brain, they are peaceful all the time. The peace will never get disturbed. If any trouble is there, go to Sarpanch and he will solve the problem for us. But now you have woken up your brains, as it were, your intellect. You have to figure it out now, right? When you read book, you exercise your brains. When you read an article, you exercise your brain. Okay, it has to pass through the lens of your logic. And it appeals to you, you consume, otherwise you don't consume. Now, that's why a good number of jnanis are there in the world. Right? It's good. A lot of intellectual effervescence is happening. People are thinking for themselves for the first time. A giant leap, as it were, for sure. But of course, it brings its own trouble. Because all of us, we don't have the logic of Shankaracharya. Okay? Logic traps you. If you have the logic of Vivekananda, or the logic of Shankaracharya kind, okay, through logical brain you would see, you would penetrate through the veil of Maya and you would get it for yourself. But our brains are not that evolved, but we don't understand that. We don't understand that. It's good. So that's why our culture says, you have to exercise your brains, you have to use your reason, and there is the farthest limit to which the reason can go. You come up to the point and afterwards the reason doesn't work. You have to plunge into sadhana, intuitively you have to sense, and then you have to experience the truth. But you have to exercise your brains, because you are a jnani type. You are not actually a karma yogi or bhakta type. You are a jnani type. You say that it must appeal to my reason and my logic. Fine. You can read the box, Advaita texts, reason as much as you can, and then plunge into sadhana. So, many of them actually have become atheists also in the world today, because intellectually your arguments are not that convincing. Why there is so much of atheism in the world? In the West, most of the people, if you ask them, do you believe in God? I don't believe. I don't subscribe to any belief for that matter. But Vedanta they are consuming today, because Vedanta actually is the religion of reason. It's not even religion, it's science. Because religion, actually the word has got a lot of negative connotation today. An educated person, as soon as you utter the word religion, he says, this guy is talking about some faith. Okay, as soon as you utter the word, he is talking about some do's and don'ts, some faith he is talking about. So that's why better use the word less. We can use the word spirituality. And Vedanta is a perfect science. It's more than a science, in fact. The king of sciences, as the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidya, profoundly mysterious, Rajaguhyam. You need to be a mystic to grasp it. Because you are stuck, in the door frame of your logic. You have to transcend that to understand it sometimes even intellectually. You can exercise your brains, intellectually you will grasp it. But you have to transcend intellect. For that actually you have to plunge into sadhana. Not many are inclined for sadhana. The mind, it doesn't cooperate. It doesn't yield to our importunities that quickly. You have to cajole this petulant child. And then over a period of time it comes under our control. So the third is actually intellectual type, jnani. And the fourth is the emotional type. First is active type, more inclined towards karma and karma yoga. The second is meditative and contemplative, suitable for Raja Yoga. And the third is jnani, intellectual types, suitable for Jnana Yoga. And the fourth is emotional man of feeling, a woman of feeling. A lot of love is there. And for them actually it is Bhakti Yoga. You see there are a good number of people who practice Bhakti in religion. And they don't reason so much. I believe in God. Okay, I have my personal God. I surrender to that individual. They connect because they are of emotional bent of mind. So this is the fourth type. And that's why we have 4 yogas. Sanatana Dharma can be classified into 4 yogas. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga. So, as Swamiji says in this, the emblem of the logo of Ramakrishna Mission, if you see, there is this snake, coiled snake. And there is this wavy waters. And there is the rising sun. Then the lotus. And then the swan. The coiled snake actually is the representative of Raja Yoga. What is Raja Yoga? We will discuss in brief. Coiled snake is representative of Raja Yoga. And the wavy waters, they represent Karma Yoga. The rising sun represents Jnana Yoga. And the lotus represents Bhakti Yoga. And the swan in the midst of the logo represents Atman or Paramatman, God or consciousness. By combining all the yogas in harmonious proportion, you have to attain to your Atman or consciousness. That is the goal. Why you should combine all the four in harmonious proportion? No, I am more inclined towards bhakti because I am an emotional type. You may say. The Swamiji has given this ideal for Ramakrishna mission. Atmano mokshardham jagat hitaya cha. It's fine when you work for self-realization. You are actually want to realize the spiritual truth. But what benefit it will do to the society? I may withdraw into a cave and I will sit there. I will contemplate. Of course, you can do help, but Swamiji wants concrete and real help. In whichever path, by holding whichever path, when you realize the truth, you will become the greatest benefactor of mankind, there is no doubt. Even if you sit it in the remotest corner of the earth. But not many people can really contemplate. But in the name of Maya, saying that all world is Maya, they might withdraw from the world, and in the name of contemplation, sometimes they may cheat themselves. It's not easy to contemplate. It's not easy to be alone. It's not easy to sit in a cave or in an isolated place and do sadhana. You underestimate the power of mind. It will overpower you and people will go crazy. Okay, it will totally overpower you because we don't know what samskaras we have, what is lying in the subconscious mind. That's why traditionally in Indian culture, we talk about actually learning these spiritual precepts from a guru, from a perfected master. Because the master, being a perfected man himself, would look into the subconscious mind of the disciple and would guide the disciple accordingly. What yoga, when he has to contemplate, when he has to withdraw, what yoga he has to practice, when he has to begin, all these things. But today actually we don't have that kind of luxury. Why? It doesn't matter. We have to figure it out where we are. We have to figure it out ourselves. So, he wanted us to combine all the four in harmonious proportions so that the mystical side, the contemplative side, the intellectual side, the active side, and also the emotional side, all are properly balanced and developed. Then you are an ideal sadhaka, an ideal spiritual aspirant. While you are struggling to reach the truth, your very struggle actually will benefit the people around also. Your very struggle will help the people around. You want to realize the truth, and in the process you will help others also to realize the truth. You will be able to bring others also into the spiritual path. And that's the reason he has established this mission and asked the people to combine all the four who are actually part of this mission. So what is Raja Yoga? Let us say I am more of contemplative and meditative bent of mind. I want to practice Raja Yoga. That appeals to me more than other three yogas. How do you do that? Last class also we discussed that story of Havya from Yoga Vashishta. This prana and mind both are connected. So by controlling the prana, I have given you the analogy of the ocean and the wave. In the mid-ocean actually, when there is wave, there is no wind. There is no wave. It is calm waters, tranquil, calm, the infinite expanse of the sea. Suddenly there is vibration in the wind, the movement, and also then wave appears. So like that, this prana is the wind. When the prana, the spanda has happened in the consciousness, then the mind appeared, thought appeared. The wave is generated only when there is wind. So when the prana actually, there is motion in prana, and then the thought actually has come into existence. So by controlling prana, you will be able to control the mind. Basically through pranayama and meditation, Patanjali Yoga, you practice that yoga, yamaniyamas, and then you step by step, the other steps you take, and ultimately you will attain to samadhi. Samadhi is nirvana, quiescence. The goal, the end is same of all the yogas. Conquering the mind, annihilating the mind, transcending the mind. So through pranayama and through meditation, deep meditation, because you are contemplative, basically your temperament, you will be able to achieve the highest. You will become a yogi. But again, actually, Swamiji says that you need to practice this Raja Yoga under a competent guru, who actually has become a yogi by practicing Raja Yoga. Because otherwise you have to follow many rules like purity of food and place and everything is important. In 6 months, an individual can become a yogi. It's a perfect science. Because there is no belief systems involved here. I have to believe in a personal God, nothing like that. Simply, you have prana, you experience it. Inhalation and exhalation happen. You have the mind, you experience the thought. And you want to sublimate the thought completely, just go with pranayama. And of course, for all these yogas, the fundamental is, the basic is dispassion. Dispassion is sine qua non. That's a necessary prerequisite. Without dispassion, you can't stand on the foundation of yoga. Dispassion actually is very important. But otherwise, there is a desire, and I want to annihilate the mind through pranayama. Then there will be reaction. There will be reaction. Mind will not die because there is a strong desire for enjoying things of the world. And now by practicing pranayama, I am trying to annihilate the mind. There is a conflict. When you want to become a yogi, all the worldly desires must be dropped. I want to become a yogi, at least till you become a yogi. Afterwards you cultivate. After becoming a yogi, you just can have any desire. But all desires will fade off because you are self-fulfilled now. The desire for name and fame, the desire for power, the desire for position, desire for wealth, all will vanish because you have attained to the highest. You have become fulfilled now. But till you become a yogi, you drop all those desires. Ensure that you have no other desire to enjoy anything of this world. And then actually resort to this pranayama. Fine, you will become a yogi. But most of the times, we have desires to enjoy things of the world. And now you want to become yogi also. And you will do aggressively your pranayama. And it will do damage to your system. That's why it's not advocated. Sri Ramakrishna, of course, said no to Raja Yoga for this age. Okay? But it's a perfect science. By controlling the prana, you can control your mind. If there is a dispassion, just by practicing pranayama, you will attain samadhi. Swamiji says, if the right guru gets, if the right environment, you will get 6 months, you can become a yogi. The shortest span of time. It's such a perfect science. Very tempting, right? But at the same time, the preparation is required. Conditions apply. Conditions apply. Most of the times you don't see that. That will be below. Small, the font will be very small. Conditions apply. So everywhere, the riders are there. And then karma yoga. Karma yoga, if you are an active type, you just engage in action, but you have to have little contemplation. What is the motive? Why am I doing this action? Do you have an expectation for the results? Am I a slave of the results? Swamiji again and again says, work like a master, don't like a slave. Okay, if you are expecting the result and if your goal or if your mind is on the outcome of the action, you are a slave, he says. Work for the sake of work. Work like a master. I engage in action. The fruit comes, okay, I'll take. If it doesn't come also, okay for me. You should be able to tell that. You should not become slave of the fruit. Otherwise, why should I engage in action? I will nicely sleep. If I don't have a desire to enjoy the fruit of the action, why should I engage in action? I will nicely sleep, people are saying. No. As the Lord says, you can't sit idle. Action is compulsory, it's not an optional thing. Because action is ingrained in our constitution. You can't sit without action even for a moment. And that is the nature. Because he says, nature will goad you into action. Mind is actually action. Will goad you. So when action is inevitable, compulsory, then only learn how to do, how to act. It's a wheel within wheel, Swamiji says in Karma Yoga lectures. How to act without expecting the fruits of action. The Lord says in the Gita, okay? Karmanyeva adhikarate ma phaleshu kadachana. You have only the right to act, but not to expect the fruits thereof, Arjuna. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Don't become a slave of the fruit. Work like a hero. Action for the sake of action, work for the sake of work. Tremendous energy comes, tremendous strength comes. Most of the times we won't be able to manifest the highest potential for work because The mind says, you are working so hard, what if you don't get? It will say, plus all energy will go. What if you don't get? Okay, you're working so hard, fine, the mind will say. Then you have to tell the mind that it doesn't matter even if I don't get. I'll work. My mind is not on the outcome. I'm not a slave. That because the result will be there, that I will engage in action. I will do work for the sake of work. Only a hero can say this. Okay? Action is for the sake of yajna. Yajnarthat karmanaha anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Yajnarthat karmanaha anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Only for the sake of yajna, as a sacrifice, if you do action, that action will not bind you. Otherwise, action entangles you, it binds you, it increases your bondage. This way again actually rebirth will happen. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Because desire-filled action. So, the Lord asks us actually, mukta sangaha samachara. So, because action is inevitable, when you want to engage in action, mukta sangaha samachara, be detached. Be detached from the fruit. Be detached action actually. You are involved but not entangled. You are involved but not identified with the action. That must be the way. Karma Yoga, he has to perform like that. And also the Karma Yogi has a little devotional bent of mind also. He believes in a personal God. He is not an atheist kind of guy, let us say. He is an active type, but he believes in God. Then what? Another easy way to detach yourself from the action is, whatever you do, offer the fruit of that action to your chosen deity, or the personal God. Okay? You are engaged in action for the sake of your Lord. You are engaged in action for the sake of your deity, your chosen deity. He action, for his sake I am doing action. So whatever that you get as as a fruit of your action, you offer it at the feet of the divine whom you believe in. And because you are surrendering the fruits of action constantly to the chosen deity, you will not get entangled. It will not add bondage to your action. If you find it difficult to detach with your own strength, on your own strength, then surrender the fruit of action to the Lord. That way you will escape from bondage. The karma will not entangle you. Most of the people in the world think that they are karma yogis, but they are not karma yogis, they are only karmis. Karma yoga is not an easy thing. To do work without attachment, it requires tremendous strength, tremendous power of detachment. Okay. So this detachment will come because all the fruits that come, I am engaged in action, actually as an instrument or agent of the Lord. I offer all my fruits of action to my chosen deity, my Lord. Actually, he who put me in this work, he who has brought me into the world, if you have devotion. So in that way, actually, you can become a karma yogi. And the third is jnana yoga. As I have said that you are an intellectual type. Okay, everything should appeal to reason. Fine, you read scriptures, Advaita scriptures, and analyze, intellectually get convinced. What the Jnana Yoga says, the past says, body is unreal, the mind is unreal. So, okay, then what you have to do? You have to deny that two unreal things. I am not the body, I am not the mind. Okay? Neti, neti, na iti, na iti. You practice this. You practice this. Or, a jnani is supposed to God everywhere, because God is everywhere. Consciousness is everywhere, in every particle. Because God is beyond time and space. Anything that is beyond time and space is there everywhere. It can't be limited to particular space, right? Intellectually you are convinced, then you should be able to see God in everything, in every individual. Ishavashya midam sarvam mit kincham jagatyam jagat. Superimpose God on everything you see. This is a jnani is supposed to do. Intellectually he will begin his sadhana like that. I will superimpose God on everything I see from today onwards. Every individual is a manifestation of the divine, expression of the divine, is a form of God. Not just man, not woman, not animal. All these forms are dissolved for you. All these forms are dissolved for you. The form is only the superficial, the external crust. The life principle behind is consciousness. So you will see every form, every individual as an expression of that divine, as an expression of that consciousness. What happens when you do that? You will go beyond the pairs of opposites. Mind is made up of pairs of opposites. Equanimity will come. Yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate. You will get established in that samatva. You will get established in that equanimity. You will have the highest peace. You will have that blessed state of, blessedness, blessed state of peace, peace that passeth all understanding. In Christian theology, the description is peace that passeth all understanding. What is that peace cannot be explained in words. That's why they said peace that passeth all understanding. That is nirvana. Because you have attained to the state of equanimity of mind. How? Through jnana. Because you superimpose God on everything you see. So if you see the two individuals, this guy is good, this guy is bad. So naturally my mind exists. Because I like the good individual, I avoid the bad individual. Face of opposite, I am stuck. But when I superimpose God on both of them, I see both of them as expressions of the divine. No judgment, right? No good, bad. You have transcended the pairs of opposites. No high, low. No happiness and misery. You transcend all the pairs of opposites. Praise and blame. Everything is same, one and the same. Because the praiser and also the blamer, somebody who censures you, both are divine. What does it matter? Both are just words. Praise is a kind of, sound. Ridicule or censure is also a kind of sound. Both you take it like that. Both are instruments of the divine. Will you have any problem then? Your mind will respond equally to it. Otherwise, if somebody praises, we become fat. Okay. We lap it up. It tastes so sweet. As much the praise actually, tastes sweet, the opposite of it, the censure, tastes bitter. Same. Today somebody has praised you. Okay. You lapped it up. And so much joy has come. The next day, some other individual has come and censured, abused you. Yes. Right? The same mind. Opposite reaction happens. Peace is lost. Peace is lost. The praise you won't remember for long, but the censure, the abuse, you remember it. Not for 1 day, 2 days, for months together, years together. And then you brood on that. Why did that guy abuse me like that? What ultimately basically is a little sound, right? If you're a jnani, you have to take everything like that. Okay, the man who has praised you is a form of God. The man who has censured is also a form of God. That is an expression of the divine. This is an expression of the divine. You don't make any distinction between individual and individual. According to his samskaras, tendencies, he understands and he, reacts. One reacts in one way, another reacts in another way. What does it matter? It won't disturb your mind. But you put it to practice, you understand how difficult it is. Basically, it's ego. When it is heart also, it is ego. When actually, when you feel happiness also, it is ego. You have just fattened it up a bit. Okay. So, through Jnana Yoga, neti, not the body, not the mind. Deny the lower, deny the unreal, you will get established in consciousness. Only thing that you need to do is Maya, you have to deny it, because truth is always there, not that you have to get it from somewhere outside. Truth is here itself, is immanent. Because of wrong identification with the body, we don't experience that. We are not aware of that. So deny the unreal, deny the lower, and you will get established in the truth. This is Jnani's path. But at the same time, there are pitfalls. Not easy. Most of the times, the Advaita practicing actually. You have to rely on your own strength. As Ramakrishna says that Marjala Kishora Nyaya and Markata Kishora Nyaya. You are engaged in the path of Jnana Yoga, and it's like, baby monkey. You have to hold on to your own strength. When you slip off, then you are gone. The fourth is actually the Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga is for the emotional bent of people with emotion, people who are rich in love, people who are rich in feeling for them. And I believe in God. Basically, I am a bhakta. And I have a chosen deity. I cultivate love for that chosen deity. Whatever that happens in my life happens by the will of my Lord. Right? That is surrender. Saranagati we say in Sanskrit. You are surrendered to your Lord. So you are fearless now. You cultivate love for your chosen deity. You have surrendered yourself at the feet of your chosen deity, and life becomes smooth for you, because step by step actually you progress on the path of yoga, and when your surrender becomes complete, you have attained to complete Sharanagati. So nothing of this world will affect you, because everything that happens in your life happens by the will of your Lord. And you have surrendered at the feet of your Lord. So there's nothing like I, everything is he or she, my Lord, my mother. Sri Ramakrishna would say, my mother. For any trouble, he would go, rush to his mother, and the mother, he would get the answer from mother. Sharanagati. total surrender at the feet of the divine. This is basically the path of devotion. And Sri Ramakrishna says for Kali Yuga, this is the easiest path. We all have some love in our heart. But 50% goes to a spouse, as he himself says, 25% to children, okay? Remaining 25% for individual name and fame, for friends and relatives. So no love left for God. Reserve some love for God. At least 10%, increase the percentage of it. Increase the percentage of it. We have love in our heart, but actually we have misdirected it. We have actually given a wrong direction. You have given it to people. You have actually invested in all that love in temporal things. And that's the reason actually we don't actually get to the truth. So this emotion of love that we all have, to lesser degree or higher degree, is on a different manifestation. Everybody has it in full in a way, but very little expression he finds it. If you turn it towards God and if you cultivate love for the absolute, love for the immortal, love for the eternal, okay, we also will become eternal. If the love is turned towards the immortal, we also will become immortal because we will merge in the immortal. One day yoga means to connect. The bhakti actually connects us to the divine, to our maker. And then we become perfect. So by following all these paths, any one or two or all of these, somebody says each soul is potentially divine, the goal is to manifest the divinity within. Do it either by work, or worship, or by psychic control, or through knowledge, and become one with the divine. Reading, books, rituals, they are all secondary details, he says. Somehow become a yogi. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, Jato mat tato pat. As many individuals, so many paths. Because in emotion, in action, in knowledge, in reason, and also in contemplation, each of us actually we have our own percentage, what percentage of meditative bent of mind you have, what percentage of the reason is developed in you. So the permutation and combination, every individual is unique in that way. This way, as many individuals, so many paths. Jato mat tato path means. So you have to figure out, make your own path. You have to mix all the four in whichever proportion you like. Suppose I have more of contemplative bent of mind, so I will meditate more. 50% of Raja Yoga I practice. 20% Jnana Yoga, maybe 15% Bhakti Yoga, and 5% or 10% Karma Yoga. Right? You have to figure it out, the path for you. As many individuals, so many paths. Because of that, because in what proportion you combine all the four depends upon what kind of temperament you have, your mental makeup. And so you have to carve out your path. So my path cannot be your path and your path cannot be my path. Each individual has to carve out his or her path, okay, depending upon his or her temperament and mental makeup. And then actually travel on the road, you will realize the truth. But become a yogi. Yogi bhava, Arjuna, Krishna says. Somehow you become yogi, how you will become? Path will be open for you. If really the desire to become one with the divine must be there, that's all. To attain the highest fulfillment of life, okay, to attain the highest goal and the objective. Strengthen the desire, things will happen. I must know the truth, I must know God, I must realize the absolute. Strengthen the desire. The rest will follow. The universe will conspire to make the path for you. We will stop here for today. We shall meditate for 2 minutes before we disperse.
Om.